fellow faculty, family, grandparents, friends, the fully vaccinated, the still standing tall Stanford tree, and last but certainly never least, the great graduating class of 2021. Congratulations! I wish I could see your smiling faces. But in some sense, maybe it's more appropriate for a 2021 graduation that I'm coming to you remotely. Because a lot of us have spent a lot of time this past year walking around the house talking to people on a camera. And adapting and adjusting to these chaotic times is just a slice of what makes your class special. You didn't just make it through final exams and dissertation defenses, long hours on the wards and in the labs, scores of seminars, and long sleepless nights. No, you made it through the most disruptive, challenging years in American history for higher education in general and biomedical education in specific. These past 16 months tested whether you really wanted this. And that's the hardest exam you'll have to ace for a long time. And most of you didn't do it alone. So to the parents, the step-parents, the grandparents, the mentors, the aunts and uncles, the special people who blend entire new families with love and determination, to all of you who helped our graduates get here, this is your day. Years ago, I heard a phrase that stuck with me. People don't remember your advice, they remember your example. And the most powerful, hopeful example I've seen came not from my generation, but from yours. And it hit close to home. To my home, I mean. My son graduated in March of 2020 with a Master of Fine Arts degree in Scenic Design from UCSD. He moved to Los Angeles to pursue his passion. That same month, the pandemic shut down live theater from coast to coast. He could have quit. He could have moved back home. He didn't. He kept his dream alive, worked odd jobs, continued to hone his skills, and persevered. It would have been easy to abandon ship and take his talents in a different direction, grudgingly accepting that live theater will rebound slowly, even after the pandemic. But he didn't give in. And now, 1 year later, he's finally going back to scenic design and the work that inspires him. Like all of you, he's in it for the long haul, even when life intervenes in ways that were previously unimaginable. And I realized if he and you can power through and protect your dreams through this, you don't need my advice. We'd all do a lot better following your example. But having already earned your real-world degrees in resilience, I do hope you'll indulge me if I share just a couple of examples in our world in desperate need of some of your patented post-pandemic grit. Not a lesson to live by, but a charge to keep. First, this last year has demonstrated more than at any time in my life the promise and power of biomedicine and the value of biomedical professionals when we follow our North Star to help and to heal through our research, teaching, and patient care. From frontline workers in the emergency department to providers in the ICUs, from vaccine developers in the labs to tech developers making the necessity of telemedicine a reality faster than anyone projected, to those pursuing fundamental biological discoveries. This has been a story of remarkable accomplishment that's saving lives everywhere. But this year has also exposed the long, unfinished road to rebuild trust. Our society stared down inequities laid bare and as yet unfulfilled promises in fairness, safety, and justice. COVID-19 wrapped all of these challenges together in one. The pandemic brought the loss of more Americans in 1 year than in all of World War II. But World War II brought us together. Victory gardens, rubber drives, people serving our country and each other in a myriad of ways. Somehow, COVID-19 divided us. We fought over almost everything, always at high volumes, and too often in hyperbolic tones. As Kara Swisher noted on one of her podcasts, when Patrick Henry said, "Give me liberty or give me death," he wasn't talking about wearing a mask in public places. Why do we find ourselves in this place? And more importantly, how do we get out of this place if we don't even hear the same set of facts? I thought back about where I grew up, conservative, red state, rural America. I realized we, especially in our community, need to see those in different communities not as others, but as human beings. And the best thing a wise person can do is to listen. We will never be one nation if we don't all get out of our comfort zones and really listen to one another, even when we don't like everything we hear. Listening is not a favor we do for other people. It's not a convenience or a nicety. It's an acknowledgement to our patients, neighbors, and family that we need them. No matter our degrees or expertise, we never know the whole story on our own. It comes down to restoring one simple and fragile bond: trust. We used to trust our institutions, none more so than our physicians and scientists. We grew up reading about heroes like Madame Curie and Jonas Salk. We trusted our family doctor. Eagerly anticipating what your generation of the life sciences will do for our citizens and our planet, you're what makes me optimistic that you're capable of being in the vanguard of restoring the trust we need to heal, not just our bodies, but our body politic. You have moral authority. Hold on to it. It's a precious national resource, and it's not easily renewable. Part of how you help people trust you is by being honest when you don't have the answers that everyone wishes you did. That's something I didn't teach my son, but something I learned from him. Don't be afraid to struggle and to share your struggle. We're all achievers. We're all determined to do big, ambitious things. But sometimes the journey, as long and tortuous as it may be, is a better teacher than the success at the end. The regrets you will live with are the swings you don't take, the pitches you never throw, the shots you don't take. And maybe that's a big part of what it takes to create more trust. Being vulnerable, being honest, telling it straight when it's not easy, in defeat and not just victory. So, class of 2021, go big, try hard, reach farther. You'll fail sometimes, and you'll learn from that failure. You're graduating on the cusp of a great renewal. The next 50 years are about life sciences, and you're going to succeed because someone else tried and failed many times, and the future was built on the 999 experiments that failed before number 1,000 could spark a fire of innovation. But do this for your profession. Be the generation that did rebuild trust when it was needed most. This will take some effort to slow down and fully appreciate how we are part of both the problem and the solution. I think you can start by being the generation that looks out for each other. Don't let anyone make fun of you for being a generation that values work-life balance and self-care. That's better than when I graduated. Our culture was work, work, work till you drop. Keep it all bottled up. You have a better, healthier outlook. But in the last year, some of our colleagues didn't have a choice. A friend of mine was a leader at a prestigious academic medical center on the East Coast. He asked me if I remembered the opening scene of Saving Private Ryan. And then he told me about the trauma of writing condolence letter after condolence letter to the families of the deceased on his team, custodians, janitors, office workers, nurses, doctors. He's not alone. And that's going to stay with him and with everyone who was in his shoes. Be the generation that insists we take care of our own. And let's be honest, we haven't always. After 9/11, everyone gave speeches about firefighters and first responders. But the speeches went silent, and the checks all bounced after those heroes got sick. So, be the generation that makes sure that we take care of our heroes who took care of all of us. Class of 2021, here's the truth. You've already got this. You know the answers before the world hands out the test. You're smart. You're resilient. You care. Whatever you do, as you step out into the greatest century of innovation, be great citizens too. Rebuild faith in our institutions and in each other. Heal our society and help your neighbors. Do that because then I know you'll go out and heal the world. Thank you. I now have the distinct honor and the great pleasure to introduce our 2021 Stanford Medicine Commencement speaker. Dr. Michelle Williams is the Dean of the Faculty at the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health and Professor of Public Health and International Development. She is a world-renowned epidemiologist, an award-winning educator. Her studies of maternal and child health have influenced practice around the world. Under her leadership, the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health has been on the forefront of every public health issue, particularly efforts to better understand and contain the COVID-19 pandemic. Dr. Williams has also been a powerful voice arguing that racism is a devastating public health crisis that we must actively confront. She is an inspiring leader and a riveting orator, and I can't imagine anyone better suited to speak to you at this moment in history. Please welcome Dr. Michelle Williams.
Congratulations, class of 2021. I'm thrilled to join you virtually today. You've overcome so much to make it to this moment. You've made it through one of the most difficult years the world has faced in over a century. You should be so incredibly proud of yourselves. And a special thanks to you, Dean Miner, for inviting me to take part in today's special celebration. Now, some of you may be wondering just why Dean Miner asked me to speak. I'm an epidemiologist. You're newly minted physicians. I'm Harvard. You're Stanford. Don't we have some sort of East Coast, West Coast, Crimson, Cardinal, epidemiologist, physician rivalry to uphold? Well, for a long time, there has been what I believe is a misplaced tension between academic public health and the practice of medicine. But if it wasn't clear before, it should be now. Our work could not be more intertwined. Public health and medicine are sister disciplines. One is focused on the collective. The other is focused on the individual. Both involved in the enterprise of protecting, promoting, and preserving our human capacity to thrive. And I believe that there is no more important time to band together as a family than now. That's because you are all leaving school and entering the clinic at an incredibly critical juncture in our history. The world needs you. The world needs you not only because of the COVID-19 pandemic, which has certainly laid bare so many of our vulnerabilities as a society, but the world also needs you because of the increased momentum in the global movement for racial justice, an ongoing struggle that has left so many of us reflecting on the circumstances in which communities of color live, how it influences their health, where our professions have fallen short, and how we might promote positive change. This year has also shown us how one person's health can have a domino effect on their community, and how much of one person's health is affected by the air we breathe, the water we drink, what kind of neighborhood we grew up in, all of which make up the social determinants of health. I'm a strong believer that public health is everywhere and nowhere. And by that, I mean that the work public health officials do is so vital and yet all too often invisible to the outside world. The same is true for medicine. Sure, everyone knows that they should have a doctor. But in general, most people don't think about their health unless there is something seriously wrong. But over the last 15 months, all of that has changed. Today, public health isn't just top of mind for policymakers or healthcare practitioners. It's front and center in the lives of people across the globe. Today, public health determines where you can go, when you will have your next hug from loved ones, or whether or not you can keep your jobs. As we look forward, it's clear that we're going to have to keep learning and relearning what our roles in this new paradigm will be as individuals, but also as professionals. And today, as you do that, I want to give you 4 pieces of advice. First, you have to live your truth. There is going to be moments when you'll be tested, when you don't know what to do, when you'll make the wrong decision. And when that happens, I want you to reconnect with your why you chose to embark on this career of medicine in service of others. For some of you, the why is going to be because of your love of science. For others, it may be the thought of loved ones. For me, it's wanting to honor the sacrifices others made to ensure that I received a world-class education. What's motivating you right now? What got you through those classes and exams and kept you moving forward? The answer should be your North Star. When you're challenged, and you will be challenged, let your why, let your North Star be your guide. Second, you can never allow yourself to stop learning. Today is your graduation day, but that doesn't mean that your education is over. You're embarking on a career where the best way to learn is by doing, in a field where the best science is ever changing. As physicians, you are committing yourself to a life of continual learning through your patients, through your research, through the world around you. You must always stay curious, because curiosity has a way of sparking change, whether through discovery of penicillin or the rapid development of mRNA vaccines. And third, self-care. Self-care is just as critical as patient care. The results from studies are clear. Even before the pandemic, physician burnout was at an all-time high. Long working hours, even longer hours of documenting, board exams, it all adds up and it can be overwhelming. It's important to take care of yourselves, and whatever that looks like for you, take care of yourselves. Maybe it's sleep. Maybe it's having a good meal, or making time for yoga, or making time with friends and family. For me, it's exercise. Whatever it is, just remember that it's not selfish and it's not wrong to feel tired. It's human, and self-care is important. Let me share a small caveat to this third advice. We'll call it 3.1. And that is, you should let others take care of you as well. Physicians take care of others for sure. But physicians, you also deserve to be taken care of. Public health experts like myself have long called on health leaders to implement measures that promote physician resilience. We want to be partners in your wellness, and it's important that you allow us. And finally, allow yourselves to see the big picture and look upstream to the root causes of health and wellness. Our approach to healthcare in this country is almost perfectly upside down. We invest most of our time, our attention, and our money into taking care of people once they're already sick. But most illnesses don't emerge out of nowhere. Oftentimes, they defy disciplinary boundaries and end up being passed down from generation to generation. You don't have to look far for examples. East Palo Alto is only about 15 minutes from the Stanford Medical School campus. But for people who live there, their life expectancy is 4 years lower than the average for the county. Residents have higher rates of asthma and diabetes. It's home to less than 5% of San Mateo County's residents, but nearly 11% of COVID cases. At the end of last year, East Palo Alto had 7 times as many COVID cases than Palo Alto. Why is that? The legacy of discriminatory housing policy, for one thing, racism, economic inequality, our broken immigration system. These social determinants all add up. The noted health disparities didn't emerge from nowhere. Now, I didn't and don't say all of this to overwhelm you. I say it to motivate you, because things do not have to be this way. The health outcomes we're seeing today in places like East Palo Alto, Roxbury, here in Boston, and in other parts of the country are by no means preordained. And right now, those of us in the life sciences and health professions have a tremendous opportunity to upend the existing paradigm. That's why I'm challenging you to be an advocate, to advocate for yourselves, for your patients, for a healthier and more just world. Health is part of a bigger picture that cannot be seen in just a few minutes in an exam room. And the closer you hold that belief to your heart, the better off your patients will be. Take Dr. Craig Spencer from Columbia University as an example. He survived the Ebola epidemic only to get stuck in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic in New York City. But he didn't see this as a setback. He saw it as an opportunity. He saw it as an opportunity by starting to use his platform to push for PPE for his physician colleagues in need. He raised awareness of COVID-19 back when nobody really understood what was going on. And don't forget about Dr. Mona Hanna Atisha, who began noticing that blood tests in some of her younger patients kept coming back with elevated lead levels. She'd heard that their city had recently switched water sources, and she started digging. That city was Flint, Michigan, and her dogged pursuit of an answer ended up uncovering a crisis and saving countless lives. When I think of these two physicians, I'm reminded of the words of author Isabel Wilkerson. She said, "You cannot heal what you have not diagnosed. You cannot repair what you have not seen." Had Dr. Hanna Atisha not seen those kids, who knows what would have happened to them? Had Dr. Spencer not seen the Ebola epidemic firsthand, who knows if he would have jumped into action when the COVID-19 pandemic hit? And had all of you not lived through this difficult year and seen the disparities you have all undoubtedly seen, who knows if you would be the physicians you are today? Physicians who are aware of the hardships your patients face. Physicians who are driven to help. This last year has opened the eyes of many. Now it's up to us, it's up to you to shift their focus and to maintain that focus. The pandemic highlighted in significant ways the importance of both of our roles, yours in medicine and mine in public health, be it in small cities, big cities, or in rural communities, in the US or across the world in developing countries. We are all in this together. We have more similarities than differences. So, this is our moment. We must act to bring about change while the spotlight is on us all. And I know this. All of us believe in you. And I hope you believe in yourselves, because we're counting on you. Congratulations again, class of 2021. And thank you. Thank you for letting me be a part of your special day.
On behalf of the faculty and staff of the School of Medicine, I want to congratulate the medical graduates of the class of 2021. After passing scores of courses and clerkships, about 100 tests and in-person assessments, after taking, in some cases, 3 national board exams, my apologies to those of you who took Step 2CS, after absorbing feedback from scores of residents and faculty, after completing a scholarly concentration or a master's or a PhD degree, and after paying more than $200,000 of tuition, you have made it. The stethoscope name tag that was mailed to you is for real. You can add those long sought after initials to the back of your name. You know that MD stands for much deserved as much as it does for medical doctor. Congratulations. It's amazing how much you have grown on the road to becoming a physician. As faculty, we remember reading your medical school essays and how each of you mentioned with great idealism your interest in science and medicine and your goal to apply your knowledge to alleviate human suffering and to treat disease. We remember when you first put on your white coats and placed the stethoscopes in your pockets. It was a sunny day in August, your families were on the Alumni lawn, and you were bursting with pride. Your dream had started. We remember your first day in anatomy. You were assigned to a person who had sacrificed their body for your use to promote your education. We remember the gratitude you felt and the reverence you showed for that person. We remember that you were surprised by how soft heart sounds were and that you needed to listen very carefully, even with that magical stethoscope. We remember the wow when you heard your first heart murmur, the wow when you first felt a liver edge, the wow when you completed your first history and physical in under an hour. We remember when you started clerkships and you were able to put your knowledge to good use. You did medicine and surgery, or medicine and pediatrics, or pediatrics and surgery back to back, and barely had time to do your laundry. We remember that you were exhilarated to save a life, exasperated to lose one, and exhausted at the end. We remember that while your team was glued to the computer station obtaining data, you were the one by the bedside, getting to know the patient who was ill rather than an illness that happened to be in a patient. We remember with the pride and satisfaction you felt when the patient looked in your eyes and said you were their doctor. And we remember the glow you felt when you used your knowledge to make that patient better. We remember that your medical education was interrupted by COVID-19, that you needed to give up your clerkship schedule, enter the draw again, and await the outcome. We remember that many of you did virtual clerkships and then restarted clerkships on an accelerated 3 and 6 week schedule. We remember that you did not complain, were flexible and good-natured about all these changes, and that you resumed your training with masks and visors, ready to do as much as you could to help your patients. We remember that you stood up for justice and the Black Lives Matter movement and attended rallies, and that you embraced the call for anti-racism and anti-bias in your activities and in your lives. These may not all be your memories, and you undoubtedly have many others. As medical faculty members and staff of supporters, we hope you will retain your fond memories of Stanford, of the way you developed your skills and did not lose the enthusiasm and idealism you felt on that sunny August day when you first put on your white coats. And we hope you will remember the words in your medical school essay, to apply your knowledge to alleviate human suffering and treat disease. We hope that part sticks with you forever. On behalf of the Stanford education family, I want to express the privilege we feel to have shared these years with you. We are facing a country and world in need of people who care about people, regardless of their means, what they look like, what they believe in, or where they come from. You have earned a powerful credential. Please use it wisely and make sure to unleash its full power to repair our country and our world. We will miss you, and we hope you know that Stanford Medicine will always be here to back you. Thank you.
Congratulations, graduates. Your graduate school journey was interrupted by the COVID-19 pandemic, but do not let that define you. Think not of what you lost, but instead remember how you and your colleagues responded and how the experience influenced your development as a scientist. Instead of being derailed by the closed door to your lab, many of you pivoted and provided your expertise during the pandemic. Some of you collected PPE for our healthcare workers or PCR reagents to perform tests to detect SARS-CoV-2. Some of you volunteered to help in studies looking at the prevalence of antibodies, while others used their bioinformatics skills to examine sequencing data. Some of you were involved in COVID research, performing the studies, analyzing the data, and contributing to the many hundreds of COVID-related manuscripts from Stanford. And all of us, we're called upon by family, friends, and even the person checking us out at Trader Joe's to explain why this virus was different from seasonal flu, why we had to wear masks, why some children who did not even know they had COVID were now in the ICU with a multi-system inflammatory syndrome. Thank you for being a science communicator. Thank you for explaining that the quick generation of vaccines is the direct result of decades of research by scientists like you. The virologists that have studied coronaviruses such as MERS and SARS for years. The geneticists that had all the expertise to quickly sequence SARS-CoV-2. The molecular biologists, vaccine biologists, immunologists who developed the safe adenovirus and mRNA technologies and knew the best timing and dosage to get a robust immune response. It is a rewarding time to be a scientist. However, there is more work to be done. The COVID pandemic magnified the glaring health and healthcare disparities for people of color and underserved groups. Further, it is abundantly clear that not all of our trainees can see themselves reflected in the faculty that teach and mentor them. As you now know firsthand, graduate school has its ups and downs, and even as the past 15 months have shattered the norm, you are all here at the end of your graduate school journey. Embrace your resilience. You are our future, and we admire your passion and dedication, both to science as well as the greater community. Together, we will create a more diverse and equitable environment for the next generation of scientists. Congratulations again. Thank you.
Graduate family, friends, and colleagues, it is an honor to be with you here today to acknowledge and celebrate the achievements of our School of Medicine graduates. They have proven to be resilient, determined, and hardworking, even under the most difficult of circumstances. We all know that this past year has brought many challenges, but I stand here today optimistic, knowing that these graduates will be leading us towards a better future. Today, I'm incredibly proud of our 27 MSPA students. Over the last 3 years, these students have immersed themselves in what is seen by many as one of the toughest possible master's degrees. After 5 quarters of didactic learning, where they had mandatory in-person classes for up to 30 hours per week, they headed out for 12 months of clinical training, working 40, 60 hours per week at sites within Stanford healthcare community and in rural communities throughout California, with sites in Imperial, Humboldt, and Fresno counties. Clinical training during a pandemic required frequent COVID testing, last-minute changes away from sites hard hit by COVID, and lots of protective gear for safety. We recognize how hard this made clinical training, which is already incredibly stressful during a normal year. These students have accomplished all this while working on their leadership track coursework and capstone projects. Their projects examine barriers to healthcare for immigrants and low-income communities, improving diversity in healthcare professions, the opioid epidemic, mental health issues, healthcare leadership, and the role of the PA profession locally and around the globe. This work has resulted in invitations to present at regional and national meetings and in multiple publications. These 27 MSPA students have clearly taken full advantage of everything that Stanford has to offer. Today, I'm proud to announce that all 27 of these graduates have passed the rigorous national certification exam. Several have now secured spots in highly competitive fellowship programs, and job offers are rolling in. These graduates are entering an exciting new chapter in their life as a certified physician assistant, or should I say, physician associate. I must take a moment to acknowledge that these accomplishments would not be possible without the support of the School of Medicine leadership and the dedication and hard work of the MSPA program faculty and staff. Your support is deeply appreciated. In 2017, our MSPA program admissions committee believed that these 27 MSPA students had the potential to be exceptional clinicians and future healthcare leaders. Today, I believe that more than ever. I know they have the knowledge, skills, and leadership ability to make a powerful, much-needed difference in this world. On behalf of the MSPA program faculty and staff, congratulations to all of you for becoming certified PAs. We wish you the best of luck. Go make us proud.
Faculty, staff, family, friends, classmates, random guy walking through your Zoom background in his underwear. Thank you for being here to celebrate with us today. My name is Ryan Brewster, and I'm humbled to be speaking to you on behalf of the Stanford School of Medicine MD class of 2021. I can still vividly recall one of my first clinical encounters. I was seeing a young woman for a routine checkup, straightforward enough. After exchanging pleasantries, the patient, sensing my nerves, tried to calm the tension in the air. "You have a very kind face," she said. An odd compliment, but I shrugged it off and continued. During the exam, I heard her muffled voice through my stethoscope. "Hey, we should get dinner sometime." Oh no. My face reddened. I saw where this was going, but I didn't know how to shut it down. Do I call her out? Do I ignore her? Before I knew it, she was trying to sit on my lap. I panicked internally, but was completely paralyzed. My cries for help must have been heard, though, because moments later we were interrupted by what we call the voice of God. "Time out!" It was Dr. Kugler, my educator for care. Holding back laughter, he declared, "Scenario over." Fortunately, this was no real patient, but an actor in a simulated exercise to prepare medical students for tough conversations, oftentimes at the expense of our dignity. The infamous seductive patient station was one of countless occasions over medical school when I've been entirely overwhelmed. In fact, at no point during the past 5 years have I felt truly ready, confident and self-assured in taking those next steps in our training. Everyone graduating here today can relate to this. For some, it was pooping outside for the first time during sweat, or memorizing that behemoth of a biochem map. For others, it was standing at the edge of a delivery table, bringing life into the world, or sitting with a dying patient. The stakes seemed too high and were consumed by everything that can go wrong. But the moment passes, maybe painfully, and anxiety and uncertainty give way to growth. Unless, of course, you're retracting in the OR for 5 hours, in which case you're just really tired. But what about now? Class of 2021, our values and professional identities have been forged in perhaps the greatest period of anxiety and uncertainty in a generation. Many of us started medical school in a political culture that was stained with division and hate. Almost daily, we mourned the lives lost at the hands of gun violence and police brutality. We saw the skies turn orange as wildfires ripped through our towns and our forests. And as the very fabric of our government, climate, and society hung in the balance, we were thrust into a global pandemic. Our final year of medical school was supposed to be glorious, filled with far-flung vacations and late nights at the patio. My partner, fellow graduate, and future ophthalmologist Ami prophesied only good things. It was 2020 after all, the year of the eyeball. Instead, we traded our scrubs for sweatpants and our textbooks for Tiger King. And as the world directed its gaze on our healthcare institutions, you did not shy away from the moment. You rose to it. Between DIY haircuts and Zoom trivia nights, you collected PPE by the thousands and battled misinformation. You flocked to your labs and stood up for the most marginalized among us. Meanwhile, the phrase, "I can't breathe," took on another meaning. One that spurred us to march and to kneel and to dare to assert that Black Lives Matter. These actions should not be confused with heroism, however, a term we've heard all too often to describe our frontline healthcare providers. It conjures up images of superhuman qualities and leaves no room for vulnerability. Heroism denies the reality that we are devastated and we are exhausted. I want to acknowledge that many of our celebrations today will be dampened by profound grief. I think of my grandparents, both of whom passed away this year, and the many friends and families who have suffered loss and isolation. I think of Rose Wong, whose creativity and activism leave a lasting legacy on the Stanford medicine community. In our sadness, might we remember that so much of who we are, we can trace to the ones closest to us. For those who could join us today, and in memory of those who could not, we owe you the deepest debt of gratitude for your love, your support, and your wisdom. This day belongs to you. Now, if the past year has shown us anything, it's that healthcare as we know it is never going to be the same. There are cracks in once immovable institutions and norms, and the very meaning of a physician, what we look like, what we stand for, is being actively redefined. In less than a month, we'll be forced to reckon with these challenges, and undoubtedly we will not feel ready. So what will push us to act? Will we freeze like first-year Ryan during an awkward patient interaction? Medical school teaches us how to navigate the uncertainty and risk inherent in clinical decision-making. Much the same as we build the world anew, we must ask ourselves not whether we're ready, but rather whether we can accept uncertainty for the promise of creating something better. When doubt and insecurity creeps in, we must trust that our training and our principles will lead us down the right path. There's really no other choice. In his 1947 novel, The Plague, Albert Camus wrote, "I have no idea what's awaiting me, or what will happen when all this ends. For the moment, I know this. There are sick people and they need curing." Now, as then, our patients and our communities demand the very best of us, especially in the face of the unknown. Class of 2021, our time has arrived. No more UWorld, no more moonlighting, no more giving a pen to an attending only to never see it again. The world is slowly reopening for us, but it leaves many scars and still open wounds. Ready or not, I cannot think of a better set of leaders, innovators, scientists, and activists to set out to heal them. It has been a privilege to call you my colleagues and friends. Thank you, and congratulations.
It is truly an honor to be delivering the commencement address on behalf of the PhD class of 2021. I want to start by expressing my most enthusiastic congratulations to each of you. As I reflect on our time in grad school, I am overwhelmed by how much we have endured to get to this point. The last 5 to 6 years have been marked by civil and political unrest, racial injustice, and widespread division. While none of these themes are new, we have been forced to reckon with the tragic implications of these issues in a profound way. In case that wasn't enough, the COVID pandemic drastically changed life as we know it. I believe this is an especially poignant time for us to be going through the transition out of grad school, as the rest of our country is navigating a major transition out of a pandemic. Transitions are the best time to take stock of the lessons we've learned and be intentional about how we want to apply them as we go forward. I want to spend our time together today talking about a distinct feature of our class I have found the most inspirational, how it has helped us get to this point, and how I hope we will continue to cultivate it. In commencement addresses, we often hear speakers talk about resilience and the ability to recover after a setback. I think it's pretty clear we have resilience in spades. Instead, I want to talk to you about a related but different word to describe what I have seen in my classmates over the last several years: agility. Agility can be defined as the ability to quickly change velocity or direction in response to a stimulus. Agility is often associated with sports, where athletes have to quickly change direction and accelerate. We also see agility in our daily life when you avoid crashing into someone in the hallway or stepping into a puddle. When applied to our personal lives, agility is the ability to respond to change in order to succeed in uncertain and turbulent environments. Our agility has allowed us to succeed during an extremely uncertain and turbulent time. In the last year alone, we have had to adapt new ways to work, learn, connect, care for ourselves, and find joy, while continuing to make progress towards completing our degrees. I have seen agility in your ability to publish high-impact review papers when you couldn't go into lab. Others of you quickly pivoted to computational work and learned how to continue to produce research away from the bench. When COVID restrictions began to relax, so many of you took off and wrapped up those last experiments while maneuvering social distancing, working in shifts, and twice-weekly nasal swabs. The flexibility, strength, endurance, and focus to complete a PhD in the last year is nothing short of extraordinary, and what I believe truly distinguishes our class. I invite you to reflect on the ways you showcased agility during your time here at Stanford. What routines did you put in place? What did you learn about yourself and where you find meaning? How did you connect when you couldn't shake hands or hug? What boundaries did you need? While it is my hope that we will not have to live through another pandemic-induced lockdown, I am confident that the agile muscles we have built here will continue to serve us for years to come. What we have been able to accomplish here proves that we can do hard things during hard times. I am so proud to be a part of this class and look forward to continuing to gain inspiration from your many victories and successes. I'd like to leave you with one of the most important lessons I've learned in the last year. Don't forget how much we deeply need each other, professionally and personally. So much of this agility I've been describing is built on the foundation of support from friends, colleagues, and loved ones. My hope is that as we continue to grapple with the epidemics of racism, violence, and injustice, we are also agile in how we show up for each other, being quick to respond to the hardships of others while we navigate our own. Adversity is promised, but our agility is the secret sauce. Thank you, and congratulations to the class of 2021.
I've always thought that it was funny how, when you're applying to PA school, they ask you to write your personal statement on why you want to go into medicine. Why do you want to be a PA? Because we all know why you want to go into medicine. And it's not, I just love waking up at 4 a.m. to pre-round. It's not, writing notes is my passion, or I really want that Patagonia sweater that says Stanford Medicine on it, although that last one's not completely wrong. It's not a surprise because we all have the same reason. We want to help people. We might dress it up with dramatic stories and fancy words, but really, we just want to help people. And it's easy to remember that reason when you're trying to sound good in a personal statement and get accepted into grad school, but harder to remember that when times are tough and you're struggling. Like, for example, when you're starting rotations and you feel like you know nothing, and also there's a worldwide pandemic going on. We had the very unique experience of being trained in medicine at the same time that both the field of medicine and the world changed forever. This past year has been difficult for many, and I don't want to diminish the very real suffering and loss that occurred and is still occurring. But I want to talk about something positive that came from this experience. It forced me, like many others, to reevaluate what was important in my life. And I want to share with you all a few things I learned this past year that I hope are helpful reminders to you as well. Number 1, I learned that I never want to hear the phrase unprecedented times in an email ever again. I'm just kidding, that's not the lesson. Number 1 is appreciate what you have. especially the people in your life and every moment you have with them. One could even say you should savor or relish that time with them. Sounds like something maybe someone told us during White Coat. Anyway, on behalf of my class, to the friends, family, and faculty who have supported us along this journey, thank you so much. Your encouragement means more than you know, and we would not be here today if it weren't for you. Number 2, we never know what's going to happen next. But no matter what happens, we have what it takes to succeed. Trust me, I've met every single one of you 26 PAs, so I know you're smart enough and resilient enough. And most importantly, you care deeply. And because of that, you're going to do amazing things. We're done with school now, so I think I'll stop with 2 lessons. I think that's probably enough learning for today. There's only one thing left to do now, and that's celebrate. I know we're all Stanford grads, and we want to keep achieving and thinking about conquering the next big thing, but it's important that we take just a moment to be proud of what we've accomplished. Celebrate. Because you've chosen the best profession there is. The MDs think it's them, but we know they're wrong. Know that no matter where you end up, or what specialty you end up in, you get to do what you've worked so hard for all these years. You have the privilege of taking care of patients. And you're going to get paid to do it. So if things become overwhelming, or you start to doubt yourself, remember your fresh-faced, bright-eyed self writing your personal statement. Remember why you wanted to become a PA, and use that drive to make a difference in people's lives. Thank you, everyone, and congratulations to the class of 2021.
To the practice of medicine, I pledge to devote my life
to the service of humanity.
The care of my patients will be my first consideration.
I will strive to acquire and share new knowledge with my colleagues and my patients.
I will practice my profession with conscience and dignity,
and to the best of my ability and judgment.
I will approach each patient with charity, attention,
humility, and commitment.
I will hold all life dear and let knowledge, wisdom,
courage, and compassion guide my therapy.
I will use my medical knowledge and skills
to promote human rights, social justice, and civil liberties.
I will not permit considerations of age, disease or disability,
faith, ethnic origin, gender identity,
nationality, race, sexual orientation, social standing,
or other forms of discrimination to intervene between my duty and my patient.
I will respect the confidences with which I will be entrusted.
I will give gratitude and respect to those from whom I have learned my science and my art.
I will uphold the integrity of the medical profession.
I will cultivate peace in both personal conduct and political expression.
I will not use my knowledge contrary to the spirit of this affirmation.
I make these promises in the witness of those who have stood here before me,
and those who will come after,
solemnly, freely, and upon my honor.
As I embark on my career as a scientist, I willingly pledge that
I will practice and support a scientific process that is based on logic, intellectual rigor, personal integrity, and an uncompromising respect for the truth.
I will perform my professional activities and interactions with scientific integrity and respect for the field and my peers.
I will acknowledge that science involves failures and can be frustrating. Thus, I will treat myself and my colleagues with kindness and compassion. as we deal with temporary setbacks on the path to progress.
I will acknowledge my role as an ambassador of science to the public and strive to be honest, respectful, and unbiased while engaging the public.
I will never let the potential for personal recognition, profit, or advancement cause me to act in a way that violates the public trust in science or in me as a scientist.
I will foster a community that is inclusive of all and recognize that diversity cultivates innovation, creativity, and progress.
I will acknowledge and honor the contributions of scientists who have preceded me and become a worthy role model deserving of respect by those who follow me.
And I will always be cognizant that my work is for the advancement of knowledge and the benefits of all humanity and our world.
Good afternoon. Today I'm honored to celebrate this momentous occasion and congratulate this outstanding graduating class as you receive your MDs, PhDs, MD PhDs, and Master of Science degrees, including the Physician Assistant Studies program. As you graduate today, you're now official members of the Stanford Medicine Alumni Association, so welcome to SMAA. 38 years ago, I was the medical student speaker for my graduating class of 1983. I welcomed and thanked our parents, family, friends, faculty, and staff by saying, "It is your celebration as much as ours, for without you, we would not be here today." So on behalf of the graduating students, I thank you for your unwavering support over the years. Today, we still confront many of the challenges we faced in 1983. Healthcare disparities, social injustice, racism. These persist in our society. Last year, many of us joined Dean Minor at the March for Social Justice and kneeled and stood together in solidarity in response to the murder of George Floyd. Rest assured that Stanford is not going back to business as usual. We denounce the acts of violence and discrimination against the Asian American and Pacific Islander community. The Stanford Medicine Commission on Justice and Equity recently adopted the term Inclusion, Diversity, and Health Equity, IDHE, as the ultimate goal of its recommendations. Specific recommendations across 4 domains have been presented: leadership commitment and accountability, a more diverse community, a culture of belonging, health equity responsibility. By taking these bold actions, Stanford Medicine has the opportunity to create meaningful and lasting cultural change. Specific goals have been proposed for 2030, and we will be monitoring progress towards goals. The challenges we face as we have been confronting the global coronavirus pandemic created transformative opportunities. We witnessed collaboration among biotechnology, industry, government, and health and research organizations and institutions on an unprecedented scale. The rapid development of coronavirus vaccines represented a major breakthrough to address a global crisis. How was this accomplished? The pandemic created innovation and showed us that we are stronger together by collaborating. We learned that we need to rebuild our public health system. As we prepare for a post-pandemic future, we must resist returning back to how we used to operate. We need to continue to cultivate collaboration and ensure that we build back stronger together. We also need to remember that the innovative vaccine development strategies depended on a foundation of decades of basic science research understanding coronaviruses and nucleic acids. What next? Continue to learn from these challenging experiences facing the pandemic. Continue to be creative and resilient. Embrace your fear of the unknown. This is your calling and vocation. Surround yourselves with collaborative colleagues who help each other. Some will become trusted and lifelong friends. Be a good person. Be kind and respectful. Never compromise with integrity. Integrity is one of your most valuable possessions. Be curious. There's always a lesson to be learned from patients, clinical trials, research experiments, and life in general. Be humble. It is okay to say, "I don't know." Be a good mentor. Your trainees and mentees should inspire you as much as you inspire them. If you start doubting yourself, think about the essays you wrote for college, medical school, graduate school. What is it that motivated you then? What is it that made you stick out from the rest? Stay true to that. Stay true to the dreamer in you. Continue to be the person who wants to make a difference. Again, welcome to the Stanford Medicine Alumni Association. Some of you might be leaving Stanford, but Stanford will not be leaving you. Stanford Medicine is here for a lifetime. You will always be part of the Stanford medical and scientific community. Please stay in touch and let us know how your careers are unfolding. Finally, I would like to extend my heartfelt best wishes to all of you. Remember, the degrees you earn today will serve as the means to your future goals. You are just getting started. As the future generation of innovators and leaders, I know you will make us all proud. You are the best of the best. Just do it. Good luck and stay safe.